Hello students, today we will read a second lesson from your supplementary reader Footprints Without Feet. The name of the lesson is The Thief's Story, written by Ruskin Bond. Let me give you the brief introduction about the author. Ruskin Bond is an Indian author of British origin. He lives with his adopted family in Missouri, India. The Indian Council of Child Education has recognized his role in the growth of children's literature in India. He was awarded the Sahitya Akademi Award in 1992 for Our Trees Still Grow in Dehra, his novel in English. He was awarded the Padma Shri in 1999 and the Padma Bhushan in 2014. Before we read the lesson, let me give you the summary of the story. The narrator was a thief. Although only 15, he was experienced and successful in his work. And what was his work? Stealing was his work. Luck was against him, and he thought of targeting Anil, a young man of 25 years. Narrator introduced himself to Anil as Hari Singh. He changed his name every month to escape arrest. Hari Singh wanted to work for Anil, but Anil had no money to pay him regularly. Anil had no regular income and used to write for magazines. Anil asked if he could cook, and Hari Singh lied that he knew how to cook. Hari Singh cooked the food so terribly that it had to be thrown away to the stray dogs. Anil asked him to go away, but the narrator, Hari Singh, didn't leave his company. Later on, Anil softened and told him that he would teach Hari Singh how to cook. He also taught Hari Singh to write his name and promised to teach him to write whole sentences and to add numbers. It was quite pleasant for Hari Singh to work for Anil, and he made a rupee a day from buying the day's supplies. One evening, Anil came home with a small bundle of notes as he had just sold a book to a publisher. Hari Singh saw Anil tuck the money under the mattress. Hari Singh crept up to the bed, slid his hand under the mattress and took the money out. When the narrator was on the road, he counted the notes. 600 rupees in 50s. With that money, he could live like a rich Arab for a week or two. He could easily jump into the Lucknow Express, but hesitated and remained standing at the platform. He had no friends to go, and the only person he knew was Anil, whom he had robbed a few hours ago. It was a chilly night, and a light drizzle added to his problem. Hari Singh had forgotten about his education in the excitement of theft and realized that education can bring him more money than a few hundred rupees. Hari Singh went back to the room and put the wet notes under the mattress from where he had stolen it. Next morning, Anil stretched out his hand towards the narrator. And who is the narrator here? Hari Singh, holding a 50-rupee note. Anil told that he had made some money and he would pay Hari Singh regularly. Actually, Anil knew everything about the theft, but neither his lips nor his eyes showed anything. Now, let us read this lesson. The Thief Story, written by Ruskin Bond. I was still a thief when I met Anil. Who is this I? I here is the narrator. And who is this narrator? The thief. And though only 15, I was an experienced and fairly successful hand. That means he was fairly good at stealing things. Anil was watching a wrestling match when I approached him. Who is this I again? He is the narrator, the thief. He was 25, a tall, lean fellow, and he looked easygoing. That means not easily upset, relaxed, kind and simple enough for my purpose. I hadn't had much luck of late. That means he had not committed any theft, as he didn't get any chance, and thought I might be able to get into the young man's confidence. He wanted to take Anil into his confidence. For that he said, "You look a bit of a rustler yourself," I said. A little flattery helps in making friends. What is flattery? Flattery is nothing but excessive or insincere praise. "So do you," he replied. Who is this he? Anil. Anil replied, "You also look like a wrestler," which put me off for a moment because at that time I was rather thin. "Well," I said modestly, humbly, "I do wrestle a bit." "What's your name?" "Hari Singh," I lied. I took a new name every month. They kept me ahead of the police and my former employers. After this introduction, Anil talked about the well-oiled wrestlers who were grunting, lifting, and throwing each other about. I didn't have much to say. Anil walked away. I followed casually. "Hello again," he said. I gave him my most appealing smile. "I want to work for you." "Who is this I?" "The thief," I said. "But I can't pay you." "Who said this?" Anil said. But I can't pay you." I thought that over for a minute. Perhaps I had misjudged my man. Misjudged, guessed something wrongly, because he wanted to rob this man. I asked, "Can you feed me? Can you cook?" Anil asked. "I can cook." I lied again. "If you can cook, then maybe I can feed you." He took me to his room over the Jamna sweet shop and told me I could sleep on the balcony. But the meal I cooked that night must have been terrible because Anil gave it to the stray dogs and told me to be off. But I just hung around, smiling in my most appealing way, and he couldn't help laughing. Later, he patted me on the head and said, "Never mind, he would teach me to cook." He also taught me to write my name and said he would soon teach me to write whole sentences and to add numbers. Who would teach? Anil will teach to Hari Singh, the thief. I was grateful. I knew that once I could read like an educated man, there would be no limit to what I could achieve. It was quite pleasant working for Anil. I made the tea in the morning and then would take my time buying the day's supplies. Day's supplies? Stock for something which is used at home. Usually making a profit of about a rupee a day. I think he knew I made a little money this way, but he did not seem to mind. Anil made money by fits and starts. What is this fits and starts? Not regularly. He would borrow one week, lend the next. He kept worrying about his next check, but as soon as it arrived, he would go out and celebrate. He seems he wrote for it seems he wrote for magazines. A queer way to make a living. A strange way to make a living, make livelihood. One evening he came home with a small bundle of notes saying he had just sold a book to a publisher. At night I saw him tuck the money under the mattress. I had been working for Anil for almost a month, and apart from cheating on the shopping, had not done anything in my line of work. What was his line of work? His line of work was stealing. I had every opportunity for doing so. Anil had given me a key to the door, and I could come and go as I pleased. He was the most trusting person I had ever met, and that is why it was so difficult to rob him. It's easy to rob a greedy man because he can afford to be robbed. But it is difficult to rob a careless man. Sometimes he doesn't even notice he had been robbed, and that takes all the pleasure out of the work. Well, it's time I did some real work, I told myself. I'm out of practice, and if I don't take the money, he will only waste it on his friends. After all, he doesn't even pay me. Anil was asleep. A beam of moonlight stepped over the balcony and fell on the bed. I sat up on the floor, considering the situation. If I took the money, I could reach the 10:30 express to Lucknow. Where is it at Lucknow? It's in Uttar Pradesh. Capital of Uttar Pradesh is Lucknow. Slipping out of the blanket, I crept up to the bed, moved slowly up to the bed. Anil was sleeping peacefully. His face was clear and unlined. That means he didn't have any worries. Even I had more marks on my face, though mine was mostly scars. My hand slid under the mattress, searching for the notes. When I found them, I drew them out with a sound. Anil sighed in his sleep and turned on his side towards me. I was startled and quickly crawled out of the room. When I was on the road, I began to run. I had the notes at my waist, held there by the string of my pajamas. I slowed down to walk and counted the notes. 600 rupees in 50s. I could live like an oil-rich Arab for a week or two. When I reached the station, I did not stop at the ticket office. I had never bought a ticket in my life, but dashed straight to the platform. The Lucknow Express was just moving out. The train had still to pick up speed, and I should have been able to jump into one of the carriages. But I hesitated. For some reason I can't explain, and I lost the chance to get away. When the train had gone, I found myself standing alone on the deserted platform. I had no idea where to spend the night. I had no friends, believing that friends were more trouble than help, and I did not want to make money curious by staying at one of the small hotels near the station. The only person I knew really well was the man I had robbed. Leaving the station, I walked slowly through the bazaar. Bazaar market. In my short career as a thief, I had made a study of men's faces when they had lost their goods. The greedy man showed fear. The rich man showed anger. The poor man showed acceptance. But I knew that Anil's face, when he discovered the theft, would show only a touch of sadness. Not for the loss of money, but for the loss of trust. Because he had trusted Anil so much. I found myself in the Maidan. Maidan here is a Hindi word which means ground, and sat down on a bench. The night was chilly. It was early November, and a light drizzle added to my discomfort, uneasiness. Soon it was raining quite heavily. My shirt and pajamas stuck to my skin, and a cold wind blew the rain across my face. I went back to the bazaar and sat down in the shelter of the clock tower. The clock showed midnight. I felt for the notes. They were damp. What is damp? Wet from the rain. Anil's money. In the morning, he would probably have given me 2 or 3 rupees to go to the cinema, but now I had it all. I couldn't cook his meals, run to the bazaar, or learn to write whole sentences anymore. I had forgotten about them in the excitement of the theft. This is his realization. Hari Singh's realization. Whole sentences I knew. Would one day bring me more than a few hundred rupees? It was a simple matter to steal, and sometimes just as simple to be caught. But to be a really big man, a clever and respected man, was something else. I should go back to Anil. I told myself, if only to learn to read and write. I hurried back to the room, feeling very nervous, for it is much easier to steal something than to return it undetected. I opened the door quietly, then stood in the doorway in clouded moonlight. Anil was still asleep. I crept, moved quietly to the head of the bed, and my hand came up with the nose. I felt his breath on my hand. Whose breath? Anil's breath. He was sleeping on his cot. I remained still for a minute. Then my hand found the edge of the mattress and slipped under it with the nose. I woke I awoke late next morning to find that Anil had already made the tea. He stretched out his hand towards me. There was a 50 rupee note between his fingers. My heart sank. I thought I had been discovered. I made some money yesterday, he explained. Who explained? Ani explained that he had made some money. Now you will be paid regularly. Who will be paid regularly? Hari Singh will be paid regularly. My spirits rose. He felt very happy. But when I took the note, I saw it was still wet from the night's rain. Today, we will start writing sentences, he said. Who said this? Anil said to Hari Singh. He knew, but neither his lips nor his eyes showed anything. I smiled at Anil in my most appealing way, and the smile came by itself without any effort. Here we see Anil was a thorough gentleman. He had human sympathy and compassion. He wanted to teach Hari Singh and give him education. He wanted to reform him without showing it. With this, we come to the end of this chapter. Thank you for watching this video. Stay at home save lives. Thank you.